So now we come to the second classification based on the particles of the dispersed phase. The second classification classifies them into three types. These are multimolecular colloids. Second is macromolecular colloids. Okay. Third is associated colloids. These three types of colloids are classified on the basis of size of the dispersed phase. Now, multimolecular colloids. Multimolecular colloids are the type of colloids in which when colloidal solution is formed, by dissolving, when we are forming a colloidal solution by dissolving dispersed phase in dispersion medium. This is dispersion medium and dispersed phase is added to it. Then the particles of the dispersed phase get associated in this in particles of different size. For example, gold salt. The particles of gold are of colloidal size, but when you see the colloidal solution of gold, then all particles of gold salt will not be of same size. They are associated in the small molecules of various sizes. Okay, smaller size, bigger size are available. So gold salt, such salts which are already the particle size is of colloidal size only, but when they are added to the dispersion medium, they just form multimolecular particle size of colloids which are different in sizes. All particles of gold salts are not of same size. So such type of colloidal solutions which are already in the colloidal size, they come in the category of colloidal size, that is 1 nm to 1000 nm, but their particles are of various sizes in the same solution. Such type of salts are known as multimolecular colloids, means molecules are of multiple sizes in those. Okay, this is the first type. Second is macromolecular colloids. Macromolecular colloids are formed by macromolecules. Macromolecules means molecules of cellulose, molecules of starch, molecules of, that is, protein. Okay, these are all macromolecules. We have studied them in the chapter biomolecules. So these all are macromolecular size of particles, and those particle size all fall in the category of colloidal size, and the salts or the colloidal solutions formed by macromolecules are known as macromolecular colloids. Okay, so the colloidal solutions formed by particles of macromolecular size or the size of the, already they are bigger particles, they exist in nature, protein, starch, cellulose, they are long chain molecules, so their size comes in the category of colloidal size. So these are macromolecular colloids. Third is associated colloids. Associated colloids are some different type of colloids. These colloids are normally electrolyte, means when in normal concentration, normally means in normal concentration, when a small amount of these substances are added to the dispersion medium, then they behave as electrolyte. They ionize into positive and negative ions, and they are electrolytic in nature. For example, soap solutions. These are not of colloidal size, these are simply electrolyte solutions. But when the concentration of such electrolytes is beyond a certain limit, that is known as CMC, concentration is critical missile concentration. This is known as critical missile concentration. If beyond this concentration, if more electrolyte is added or more soap is added, then the particles of that start gathering together to form missile. We have this studied in class 10th in the cleaning action of soap. So when they start forming missile, that time the size of that missile which is formed is of colloidal size particle. Okay, so normally the electrolytes or the soap solutions are normal electrolytes in water or dispersion medium, and when their concentration is beyond critical missile concentration, then they start aggregating or collecting and they form associated type of colloids. Aggregations are formed, and also this happens beyond a certain temperature. That temperature is known as Kraft temperature. Not only concentration is the factor, but also temperature is the factor that will vary from electrolyte to electrolyte. So we cannot give a particular value. Critical missile concentration and Kraft temperature varies from particular electrolyte to electrolyte. Okay, so but these two criteria are to be fulfilled when a electrolyte has to start behaving like a colloid. So these are two conditions. Such type of colloidal solutions are known as associated colloids, which normally are not colloidal size in nature, but under CMC condition and Kraft temperature condition, they start behaving as colloidal solutions. Okay, now in associated colloids, as we have discussed about the electrolytes, one of them example we have taken as soap. So we have to little discuss about the cleaning action of soaps also. We know that sodium stearate is example of a soap. Sodium stearate C17H32COONA is the formula for sodium stearate. In this is a soap molecule, long chain molecule. When this is present in water, this is dispersion medium. When these molecules, these are represented as head part and the tail part. This hydrocarbon part is represented as tail part. This is hydrophobic part, repelled by water. This head part COO negative. When Na, this is counter ion. COO negative is formed and Na positive separates out. So this O negative, this is known as head part. This is known as tail part. This head part is hydrophilic. This is hydrophobic. This is hydrophilic, means attracted by water, repelled by water. So every soap molecule has two parts. One part is repelled by water, one part is attracted by water. So when in the normal concentration, when soap is added to water, that is below CMC, then soap molecules arrange like this on the surface of water with their head part down and tail part upwards. Now suppose we meet the two conditions, that we attain the Kraft temperature and concentration is above CMC, critical missile concentration. Then these soap molecules start gathering inside the dispersion medium to form missile of colloidal size. So missiles are formed like this: tail part, head part. This is one missile of colloidal size particle. So head part is towards the water outside and tail part has gathered inside together, because it is repelled by water, it is inside the water, so it cannot be out of it. But when it is inside water, head parts are towards the water and tail parts gather towards the center of the circle which they have formed. So this is the structure which is formed in case of soap when dissolved in water. Now when such a missile is formed and this is required for cleaning of cloth, when cloth are having oil and dirt particles on it, then what happens when such missile formation takes place and on the piece of cloth when there is oil droplet or some other dirt is present, when this is soaked in water, okay, when you are soaking this in water, then this missile which is formed surrounds this inside the water, because head part will be in water and tail part gathers around the oil or the dirt particle, okay. And now by the rubbing action, when it is done for cleaning the cloth, when clothes are rubbed for cleaning, that time what happens, because the tail part have gathered around the oil or dirt particle, then because of rubbing action it gets loosened and get attached to the tail of the soap molecule. And when the cloth is rinsed in plain water, once it is rubbed in soap water and then it is rinsed in plain water, so when it is rinsed in plain water, that time this oil droplet with the soap molecule is washed away. So this is the cleaning action of soap which takes place because of the missile formation by the electrolytes of soap molecule, okay. So this is about the cleaning action of soap, and it comes under the category of associated colloids. So these were the two classification which we have finished just now. Now the next thing is preparation of colloids, okay. Now again, when we have to prepare colloidal solutions, these were the types which we have discussed. Now if we want to prepare colloidal solutions, then what are the methods? Again, there are three methods for preparation of colloidal solutions. See, these are small points, but questions from this chapter come from such small points only. So you have to prepare the theoretical part of this chapter. So methods of preparation. First method of preparation is chemical method. Second is electrical disintegration method, and third method is peptidization, okay. So in all we have three methods for preparation of colloidal solutions. Now we come to the first method, that is chemical method of preparation. Chemical method is simple. Generally it is employed for lyophobic colloids. First method for lyophobic colloids. For example, if I take FeCl3 to react with water, it forms hydrated ferric oxide, it will form FeOH whole thrice, okay, plus HCl. Means if I have to prepare ferric hydroxide salt, particles of colloidal size, then ferric chloride is a you can say electrolyte, it is a salt. Ferric chloride is a salt. When you dissolve it in water, it will form ions of iron and chlorine, but when you heat it with H2O, it forms hydrated ferric oxide and it gives the particles of colloidal size FeOH whole thrice is formed. And on the surface of FeOH whole thrice, you know, Fe3 positive ions are adsorbed. Whenever colloidal particles are formed, they have certain charge adsorbed on its surface. In case of ferric hydroxide salt, iron positive. So this is a type of positive salt. Ferric hydroxide salt is a positive salt. If negative ion is adsorbed on the surface, that salt is known as negative salt. But some charge is always present on the surface of colloidal particles, then only they become stable, okay. So this is Fe3 positive charge adsorbed on the surface of ferric hydroxide molecules. This is the chemical method. One example of chemical preparation is this. Second method is electrical disintegration, and this is also known as Bredig arc method. This chemical disintegration is also known as Bredig arc method. We'll see this method. This is used for the preparation of metal salts. Second method, electrical disintegration, for preparation of metal salts like gold, silver, platinum, which are non-reactive. Okay. In this case, what is done? Dispersion medium, that is water, is taken. Dispersion medium is taken and 2 electrodes of the respective matter. If it is gold, then gold electrodes are taken. Gold electrodes are taken and electric spark. Electric spark is struck between these 2 electrodes. Because of high temperature generated by this electric spark, what happens? That the gold, which these electrodes are made up of gold, it vaporizes. Such a high electric spark is struck that they convert into vapors, but because of the dispersion medium and low temperature around, these vapors get condensed and form particles of colloidal size. So this manner, colloidal solutions are prepared for non-reactive metals like gold, silver and platinum just by striking electric spark between the electrodes. Then vaporized vapors are collected and condensed, and those condensation of the vapors forms particles of colloidal size. This is second method. Now third method, peptization. In peptization method, peptization is done for those electrolytes which have coagulated. Okay, direct preparation method are only 2, chemical or electrical disintegration, and simply for lyophilic colloids, I told you, just dissolve them in water, they will be prepared. So that is one simple method. For lyophilic, it is not problem to prepare. For lyophobic, we have to see some technical methods. So one is chemical method, the other one is electrical disintegration. Peptization method is used only when a already prepared solution has coagulated. Then we have to prepare it by method of peptization. So what is done? I told you that if a colloidal solution is there and colloidal solution get precipitated, you can just compare it to milk, because milk is also example of a colloidal solution which is a emulsion. So when milk gets coagulated, so what happens? Whatever charge was present on the surface of milk colloidal particles, that has got discharged. If positive charge is present and some electrolyte is added in that solution which has negative charge, then what will happen? Positive and negative will interact and that will get coagulated. Okay. Coagulated. So if some electrolyte is added, to that coagulated solution again, which is having the same charge which it was having, positive charge. Suppose I talk about ferric hydroxide salt. So ferric hydroxide salt was having positive charge on it. So if that particular solution is mixed with some amount of electrolyte which has the same charge which it already had on it, then it will be regenerated back on addition of dispersion medium. So what is to be done? That if a colloidal solution has already undergone coagulation, then its peptization is done. How the peptization is done? By adding dispersion medium, because liquid medium is needed, and that dispersion medium is mixed with some small amount of electrolyte to regenerate the charges which it has already lost, and in this manner it is again prepared. Okay, so peptization method is for regenerating, it's not a new method. So these are 3 methods for preparation of colloidal solutions. Okay. Now, after methods of preparation, next topic is purification of colloidal solution. Purification. Why purification is needed? See, generally in preparation of lyophilic colloidal solutions, purification is not much required because already lyophilic colloids are stable in nature. But in case of lyophobic colloids, I told you that reaction, I told you FeCl3 plus H2O gave you ferric hydroxide plus HCl, and it was adsorbed Fe3 positive ions on its surface. Now this electrolyte is formed, this HCl is formed as a byproduct of this reaction. Now if such byproduct are present in large amount in the reaction mixture, then what will happen? This negative of chlorine may react with Fe3 positive to destabilize the solution which is formed. So in such case, what is done? We have to purify the colloidal solution which is formed. That is why some purification methods are required for the purification of colloidal solutions. Okay, so first method is dialysis. Dialysis method is just based on the principle of diffusion. What is done? Such lyophobic colloidal solutions are taken in a membrane. It may be an animal membrane, parchment membrane, membrane which is permeable to ions. Okay, means H positive, Cl negative, these ions can pass through it, but colloidal particles cannot. Okay, through this membrane, in this bag, colloidal solution is filled, and the membrane of this bag is such that it can only through this membrane only ions can pass, not colloidal size particles can pass. This is kept in water. Now what will happen? When it is kept in water, then ions diffuse out of it in the surrounding water. It is not kept for long, because if it is kept for long, then more of the ions can go into the solution. Okay, so it is kept for only small duration, so that extra amount of ions which are present can diffuse out of this membrane, because sizes of colloidal particle is big, so colloidal particles will not move out. Okay, so this is dialysis method. Now, just like dialysis method, another method is electrodialysis. If the same dialysis process is required to be made fast, then what will be done? Two electrodes will be used here, cathode, anode, positive, negative. Then what will happen? Because of the presence of these electrodes, the process of movement of the charges, positive charge this side, negative charge this side, will be fastened, and the process will be completed fast. So one of the method is dialysis. The second method is simply keeping in water. If electrodes are used, so the process will become fast, and the purification of colloidal solution will be done by this method. So these are two methods. Third, one more method is there: dialysis, electrodialysis, and ultrafiltration. Okay, the third method is ultrafiltration. This method is used when large amount of impurities are present in the lyophobic salts, and they are highly unstable because of the presence of those. So in that case, what is done? The colloidal solution is filtered. Now if using a normal filter paper which we use in laboratory, this process of ultrafiltration is done, then what will happen? Because if suppose if you are filtering milk from filter paper, then the whole milk will pass through it. Okay, so simple filter paper cannot do the function of ultrafiltration. So you have to make it more, the pores of this filter paper more fine, so that only ions and water dispersion medium can pass through it, but not the colloidal size particles. Okay, so this is known as impregnating the paper with the help of certain chemicals. So the chemicals which are used is nitrocellulose, and this paper is known as nitrocellulose paper. So because of nitrocellulose, this filter paper is dipped in nitrocellulose solution. So what will happen? The pores of this filter paper will be blocked and become more small. And then through this filter paper, if colloidal solution is passed, then rest of the solution will pass only on the filter paper. We will have colloidal particles. Then these colloidal particles can be regenerated back by the method of peptization, as we have discussed just before, peptization. Okay, so peptization can be done followed by method of ultrafiltration. Means ultrafiltration you will do first, and then after that you can regenerate the colloidal solution by mixing it with dispersion medium and a small amount of electrolyte. So these are three methods which are used for purification of colloidal solutions. Okay. Now next topic comes the properties of colloidal solutions, which are little important. Now, properties of colloidal solutions. First property, colligative properties. Because colligative properties depend on the size of particles which are present, number of particles which are not size, number of particles which are present. Because colloidal size particles are bigger in size, so definitely the number will be less. So the colligative properties values are very insignificant for colloidal solutions. They have higher values for true solutions, because true solutions have either electrolytes in them or normal substances which are dissolved in it, which are not of smaller size. So number of particles will be more, so colligative property will also have higher values for them. But in colloidal solution, because of the less number of particles due to bigger size, the properties are less prominent, so does not have much significance. Colligative properties do not have much significance for colloidal substances. Okay. Second property is Tyndall effect. Tyndall effect. In case of true solutions, if we see the path of light through the true solution, if you observe the light from in the direction from where light is coming, then you can see the bright light. But if you observe the light from right angle in case of true solutions, then you will see the dark substance. It will not be visible. But in case, why? Because the path of light is not obstructed by the particles of true solution, because their size is too small. But in case of colloidal size particles, if you observe the path of light from 90 degree, then you will see a cone, Tyndall cone formed. Just as when you see from a small slit of a door or a window, you see the sunlight coming and you see the scattering of dust particles through it. That also is example of Tyndall effect. And that Tyndall effect is observed because the dust particles are scattering the light of sun which is coming. Otherwise the sunlight comes straight, but because of the presence of those particles, it forms a cone like structure and it gets scattered. So the same happens in case of colloidal solutions also, that because of the big size of particles of colloidal solution, when light passes through it and when you observe it from right angle, you see a Tyndall cone formed inside the solution, a cone shaped structure in which the scattering of particles is visible. This effect is visible. That means Tyndall effect is shown by colloidal solutions, not shown by true solutions. So Tyndall effect is the property of colloidal solutions. Now, Tyndall effect will be more prominent if there is difference in the refractive index of disperse phase and dispersion medium. Okay, if refractive index is different of both disperse phase and dispersion medium, then definitely the light will change direction more because of the difference in refractive index. Then it will be more prominent. Secondly, if the wavelength of the light is of the order of the size of the particles, then scattering is more prominent. Sometimes if it is so that the wavelength of light which is falling on the solution is very big and the size of particles are small, so those particles will not obstruct the path of the wave which is passing through, because for causing the scattering of light, the particles which are coming in the path of that light, the wavelength of that should be in order of the size of that particle. Means something is coming in between. If its size is too small that it does not affect the path of that particular substance, then scattering will not take place. Same is true here, that if the light which is falling is of very big wavelength, then in that case Tyndall effect will not be prominent. Tyndall effect is shown by colloidal solution, but it will be only prominent when refractive index of both the mediums are quite different. And second thing, that the wavelength of the light which is falling should be of the order of the particle which is blocking its path. So then it will be more prominent. Third is Brownian movement or motion. Brownian motion is the property of true solution as well as it is the property of colloidal solutions. When observed under ultra microscope, it was observed that the particles of colloidal solutions are not at rest. They are all the time at random motion. This is known as Brownian motion, observed by scientists Brownian. So as well as in true solutions and also in colloidal solutions, Brownian motion is observed, and this Brownian motion, according to Brownian scientists, is present in the solutions, whether colloidal or true solutions, because of the striking of the molecules of the dispersed phase with each other. When they strike with each other, then they just change the direction and this move all the time. Okay, and this Brownian motion depends on size of the particles as well as viscosity of the medium. If the medium is less viscous, then Brownian motion will be more prominent, and if size of the particle is too big, then Brownian motion becomes less. So in suspension, Brownian motion is not observed because of the big size particles. It will be observed in true as well as in colloidal solution. So particle size should be small and viscosity of the medium should be less. Then only Brownian motion is more prominent, but it is observed. Observation is there, but when it will be more prominent and less prominent, this will depend from situation, condition to condition. That viscosity should be less and particle size should be small, then only it will be visible more. Okay, these are three properties. Then next point is charge or color. Charge is a long topic, we should not take it just now. Color we can discuss. That color of the colloidal particle depends on the light which is reflected by it because of the size of the particle. See, if a bigger size particle, because particle size is also having a range in colloidal solutions, 1 nm to 1000 nm. So definitely the light which it will be scattering, or the light which will be absorbed or reflected or transmitted by it, will be different according to the size of the particle from 1 nm to 1000 nm. So whichever light wavelength is falling in the range of it, according to that the color of the light will be visible for that particular substance. For example, if we talk about gold sol, if gold sol is having fine particles, means small size particles, as I told you that gold sol can have various size of particles in it, then the color of that sol appears red, because the light which that time it is reflecting is small of red, and the size of particle increases, it becomes purple. If it becomes more big, then it becomes golden in appearance. So the color of the colloidal solution is also affected by the size of the particle which is present in the colloidal solution. Okay.